So come on by 4000 Taylorsville Highway, Statesville, or call us at 704-873-5758. We're worth the drive. Thank you again for supporting small family-owned businesses. God bless.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
All systems are a go.
Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats. Taking care of Iredell with North Carolina State Representative Jeff McNeely is about to begin. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, Iredell County. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. Hey, thank you, Lord. Got a little rain, so things are looking good, although it's a little humid outside, but that's all right. I'll take the humidity as long as we can get the rain. It's not been easy here. Hey, we'll get started right into the show here real quick here. Got Dave Boliek, who's running for North Carolina Auditor, a Republican candidate. We got him on the line, and we're going to bring Dave in and talk about his run for the state auditor. So, Dave, are you with me?
I am, Representative McNeely. Thanks for having me. Glad to be with you and being heard by the good folks in Iredell County.
Hey, man, we're just glad that you're running and happy for you, that we think you're going to do a great job for us. We never mention the competition's name. We do talk about some of the things they aren't capable of, but we won't get into that. We're only going to talk about you. So tell our listeners, so they can get to know Dave Boliek. Tell us a little bit about Dave.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So I'm a lifelong North Carolinian, actually born in Lincolnton, right down the road. And I've lived in about 14 different communities across North Carolina throughout my life. My father was in news media, so he moved around a bit, went to elementary school in Eden, spent some time in Greensboro. My formative years in high school were in Durham. Left high school, went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, graduated there, worked in various jobs, including jobs in Washington, D.C., worked as a field operator, actually field director, for a group called the Healthcare Leadership Council, which in 1992 opposed Hillary Clinton's then government health plan. So I worked across the Southeast United States fighting government health care from Hillary Clinton. Left there, went to law school, graduated from Campbell University with a master's in business administration and a law degree. Got a wonderful wife that I've been married to now for 29 years, 4 great kids. 2 are off the family payroll working. I've got a daughter who's just starting college and a 14-year-old at home. I'm a strong Christian, been an elder at my church. I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ that I developed.
Amen.
Probably, Jeff, about 18 years ago. Was born and raised a Christian, always went to church, but developed that personal relationship and a deeper faith about 18 years ago that I try to follow through with on a daily basis. I've practiced law in Cumberland County, all types of law. I've also run and operated businesses and owned businesses, so I've signed not only the back of the paycheck, but the front of the paycheck. So feel like I understand financial statements and how things work. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, it sounds like a pretty, I'd say, busy and illustrious resume you have there. So well qualified, and there's no doubt about that. You can do the job. I think basically right now all I can say about your competition was they were a member of the school board of Wake County. So I don't know what that gets you, unless maybe looking at their books is not easy, I'm sure. But anyway,
as you know, as a member of the General Assembly, you and your body and your personal self and many other members of the General Assembly, both in the Senate and the House, supported me being on the board of trustees at UNC Chapel Hill, my alma mater.
That's right.
And that's really where the statewide run sort of jumped off, because I was asked by conservatives across North Carolina to go home to my alma mater and try to balance that university, which has gone way far left. And we've scored some really, really strong wins there at UNC under our board. And I was, blessed enough and fortunate enough to lead those efforts, beginning with budget reform that has that took hold in Chapel Hill and then spread to every other state university in the system. Freedom of speech, which includes ideological speech, not allowing conservative voices to be quashed across campus, and then the implementation of our School of Civic Life and Leadership, which you generously, as a member of the General Assembly, helped to fund the seed money for. The liberal faculty there told me to my face and in numerous op-ed editorials that it would never happen. And as you know, we're going to be holding classes in the fall.
That's right.
So we got that done. We're going to have conservative professors on campus, bringing a balance to the professorate. And then we've also taken the lead on stripping DEI out of the budget and redirecting some of that overbloated administrative cost back to productive things like supporting our law enforcement on campus to keep these protests from getting out of hand.
Well, and this is one of the questions I ask everybody because, I think sometimes we find ourselves to almost be a little bit crazy to do this because you've got a good life right now, Dave. Life's pretty simple, I think, for you. It's laid out. Why do you want to run for state auditor, which is a statewide race, which is really difficult? This is a huge state. What makes a man decide he wants to do that? What do you feel?
Well, Jeff, that's probably the best question you could ask because it really is. I have a good life, great family, wonderful wife, fantastic career. I certainly don't need a job. This is not about me running to be state auditor to get a job. This is because I love the state of North Carolina, because I believe in what you and other members of the General Assembly have been able to accomplish in North Carolina over the last 14 years, and I want to help through the state auditor's office to continue the economic vibrancy that we've experienced here in North Carolina. Jeff, as you're aware, when I started this race in the primary, I had 5 opponents.
Yep.
So there were 6 people running for the Republican nomination for state auditor, which quite frankly is fantastic. Because in previous years, we haven't had, as a Republican Party, a lot of qualified candidates running, right? And so we had some fantastic qualified candidates, including former Senator Jeff Tart, who's from right there in that area, who's a fantastic man and a well-qualified candidate. And then that led to a runoff against between myself and Jack Clark, who you know real well. And
I do. Jack's a good friend.
A really good man and certainly a very highly qualified candidate as well. And so what I've told people since the runoff is a couple of things. One, number one, I better win because, we have a lot of qualified candidates that were running, and I'm blessed enough to have come out on top. So I'm going to work my tail off to win. And number two, we better do some stuff in the state auditor's office once we get there.
Well,
and
go ahead.
That's it. That's really the key. And as you know, I didn't go to the board at Chapel Hill and ask the 2 pertinent questions that the chancellors and the bureaucrats, and it's not their fault, it's just this is what they want trustees to ask. They want trustees to ask, where's the alcohol and how do I get my football field pass? Right? Those are the 2 questions they want you to ask.
That's right. They got that figured out for you. Yeah.
We didn't take that approach. We asked, where's the money and how do we get a balanced budget, right? And how do we bring balance back to the university? And when we started asking that questions, we started getting things done. I want to take that approach to the auditors.
All right, we got to take a hard break here right now. Just hold tight. We'll be back with Dave Boliek. So be right with us.
Keep it right here. Taking care of Iredell with NC Representative Jeff McNeely will return after this short break on
WSIC News app today.
For 42 years, Johnson's Parts and Supply has been your Auto Plus auto parts store. When you need auto parts, think Johnson's Parts and Supply. Your Auto Plus auto parts store, 1112 Shelton Avenue, Statesville.
Call now to speak with NC Representative Jeff McNeely at 844 Studio 4. It's Taking Care of Iredell on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
All right, back here in the show here, right in the middle, we got Dave Boliek, who's running for North Carolina Auditor on the line. We took a break there, see if Dave's still with us. Dave, are you still there?
I'm here, Mr. Representative.
All right. You can just call me Jeff. I work for a living just like you. So, hey, one of the things I wanted to get into, and we're going to talk about this for a little bit on the air here now, and a lot of people are going to say, what's this got to do with the state auditor's position? But it's got a lot to do. Y'all just don't count the money. Y'all do a lot of different things. You count whether to see whether the program we put in place or the institution that has the money is spending it right. But not only that, is it effective? Are we actually getting what we want from it when the money's being spent? So you check the compliance, you check whether it's viable or not. But you also are involved in the election integrity side of it too.
Well, that's been one of the hallmarks and tenets of my campaign. Is right, you're spot on. Jeff, and that, quite frankly, has been one of the shortcomings of the state auditor's office. It's been underutilized in terms of taking a look at program results and what the results of programs that you and members of the General Assembly fund, what are the taxpayers getting for that money, and then taking a look across other state agencies to make sure that they're being effective and efficient. Because really the auditor's office, if you boil it down, it is about effective government that should be responsive to the people, which is why, to your point on election integrity, I've proposed an Office of Election Integrity in the state auditor's office. It's uniquely situated to be that monitor of election integrity. So I'm going to push that if I'm elected auditor.
Well, I think that's needed, and I don't see where either side could argue that's a bad thing. I mean, I don't. All we want at the end of the day is to know that the ballots were counted correctly and that the ballots were actually from voters that are eligible to vote. And those are the things we want. I don't care if I win or lose, as long as the game was called fair. We all want and that's what the auditor does. They're kind of the referee. They're that outside independent agency that doesn't really have anything to gain in the game to make sure that it's done correct. And that's important. The last time we had the election in 2020 that everybody thought there were issues, the state auditor, the Secretary of State, and the Attorney General, all three are the last three Democrats we had on the ticket as far as any of our state wide races go. Not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying it's kind of unusual that all three of those are the same party, and those are the three that have to make sure that election integrity goes off. You would think somehow or another, looking at all of our state offices, there would be at least one Republican in that group of three, but not. So I feel like maybe the other party concentrates real hard on that. So I feel like this is going to be really, really important going forward for the state auditor's job or in that position.
I think it's crucial, Jeff. It really is. There's 4 types of audits that I would propose an Office of Election Integrity complete. One is your SOC audit, your systems, operations, and controls. That's your standard operating procedures. Are our elections being run the same across the state, whether it's in Iredell County, Mecklenburg County, or out at the coast in Carteret County? Are we running our elections fairly and the same for all North Carolina voters? Next, let's take a look at the technology and the machinery. I have no reason to believe the machines aren't working correctly, and if they are, nobody should fear the state auditor's office taking a hard look. Next would be a voter tabulation audit, and that's what most people think about when they think about auditing the elections. When you vote, there are two documents created. If you vote by absentee, there's an envelope and a ballot.
Yeah.
Those two should match up. When you go in and vote in person, there's a voter authorization you sign, and then you're handed a ballot. Those two documents should also match up for a valid vote. no reason the state auditor couldn't do a statistically relevant audit of votes across North Carolina or in random precincts across the state to make sure that we're running elections fairly. And then the final audit, which I think a lot of your listeners would agree needs to be accomplished, and that is we need to scrub the voter rolls. We need to make sure that everybody who is on the voter roll is a legally registered voter and that they're not registered twice or in multiple counties. And really, that's low-hanging fruit. Shouldn't be that difficult to accomplish.
That's right. And you know, the ones that I really worry about are your provisional ballots. Somebody comes in, they vote in the wrong precinct or they vote whatever. They take the ballot, they go ahead and they keep it, and they go and they're supposed to cure it. You know, that's what the Board of Elections in each county is supposed to cure it, which is another word for prove that it actually is a legit vote. And I sometimes wonder if that just kind of goes ahead and gets counted and we don't really take a look and make sure that that person is actually eligible to vote in that county and they are registered. You know, those are the ones that worry me. There's a lot more provisional ballots out there than people realize. And I don't think they're scrutinized.
In a close race. To your point, Jeff, it can be relevant in a close race.
Look at Judge Newby.
Had a county commissioner's race in Rockingham County that was 3 votes.
Oh, yeah. Judge Newby, 400 statewide, 400 and some odd votes statewide.
Right.
Out of, 3-4 million people, 400 and some votes. I mean, you know, it don't take a whole lot of provisional ballots over 100 counties, 4 of them, to get you there, you know.
Well, that's right. And you know, there are folks that have talked to me about this, and you know, I haven't been in the state auditor's office, so I don't know and haven't done an audit, so I can't answer whether the elections were run above board in 2022 or in 2020 for that matter. But I will say this, you know, it is incumbent upon an independent state auditor, somebody.
Uh-oh. Oh, hang in there. Hang with us, Dave. Hey, you're back. We lost you there for a second.
Sorry about that. I'm on the road. I apologize. I'm campaigning. But it's incumbent upon somebody who has stood up to opposition before, which I have done, as you know, at the University of North Carolina, particularly against progressives. I have stood up to a lot of scrutiny and a lot of publicity to do the right thing, and that's what we need in the state auditor's office, somebody that's willing to do it, take the arrows, and do the right thing for taxpayers and citizens across the state.
Well, let me ask you, where's some of the other places you feel like that we need to take a serious look and audit in our state government? What's some of the other offices, divisions out there that you just are not comfortable with, that you think could need some?
Well,
I can name a couple. I can name a couple.
Can I get an amen that the DMV needs to be audited top to bottom? Let's start there.
Please, because that when I became one of the chairs on House Transportation, everybody was already playing in the roads. I said, well, I'll go see if I can make the DMV better. Well, give me the map of the Middle East. I think I could fix that problem easier right now. But anyway.
Well, to your credit, you and Representative Jones from Columbus County and your committee and the legislature did appropriate some additional money to DMV to help with efficiency and economies. And quite frankly, just from anecdotal evidence and my personal experience, I don't see a whole lot of results. I don't see that we're bearing any fruit from the work that you're trying to do in the General Assembly to make it better. So I feel like the auditor needs to go in and give you some data points to let's make some wholesale changes.
Well, we've had Commissioner Goodwin in front of us on the GovOps a couple different times, and I don't think it's really sinking in. So yeah, we need some hard numbers. We need to see what's going on. It's not good. And the wait lines now are ridiculous. With the backlog on getting your driver's license, it was taking like 30 to 60 days to get your driver's license sent to you because they switched vendors. And I can go on and on. We can burn up all your time complaining about it.
Well, we could go on and on because that's day one. If I'm elected, the DMV is getting a top to bottom scrub audit.
Well,
We're going top to bottom, and I don't think it's the workers. I think it's the leadership at the top that's causing the problem.
Oh, I agree. I think we have some people that really don't understand what their job title is and really how effectively to do it. And I think I'm hoping some other people will come into office in this election with you. And since that's under the governor's purview, I hope they'll clean house. So let's just pray that out.
Well, let's hope Governor Robinson is elected, and we can work together to clean up that mess. But to your point, another area that I think we need to take a look at are non-governmental organizations to make sure, as you and I talked before, every state's a border state these days. We need to make sure folks that are not here legally are not benefiting from taxpayer dollars.
That's right.
And there's evidence that in some of these sanctuary cities that in spite of money being appropriated for certain uses, it's being diverted to other uses. And I think that's a ripe area for the state auditor to take a look at and make sure that we're spending the money correctly.
Yeah. All right, Dave, we got about a minute. Give me your 30, 45 second. Why should we vote for Dave Boliek for North Carolina Auditor?
Well, I'm a conservative Republican first and foremost. Second of all, I understand the office. I've got backbone. I've made tough decisions in the face of really harsh opposition. And I've got the experience we need. I've got the gray hair and sign the front and the back of a paycheck. I know what needs to be done. We need to make the auditor's office, it's underutilized, and we need to make it work for the people to help our economic vibrancy continue that you guys in the legislature started in 2010.
All right, that sounds like a winner to me. All right, how do we find Dave Boliek on social media? What do we look for?
Well, auditordave.com is my website. AuditorDave, just like it's spelled, .com is my website. And you can do Dave for Auditor on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. We'll be in Mooresville on August 22nd for an event, and that'll be publicized locally. So.
Let me know. Remind me. All right. Well, Dave, our time's about up, but we appreciate you. Safe travels and safe campaigning, and good luck, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. God bless.
All right. God bless. All right, folks. Hang on for the second part of the show.
More Taking Care of Iredell with North Carolina Representative Jeff McNeely is coming up on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Work week now, not quite as hot, but still grossly humid. We're up around 90 this afternoon with scattered showers and thunderstorms developing in the afternoon and evening, and we'll copy and paste that for most of the upcoming work week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
For 42 years, Johnson's Parts and Supply has been your Auto Plus Auto Parts store. When you need auto parts, think Johnson's Parts and Supply. Your Auto Plus Auto Parts store, 1112 Shelton Avenue, Statesville.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Parents can find a quality classical Christian education at Headwaters Academy. For more information, the phone number is 704-876-1520.
Hello, everyone. This is Joshua Doby, president of North Main Financial Group. At North Main Financial Group, we move to where you need us. Investment management, insurance planning, and estate strategies. No two people are the same, so we customize our planning based upon your needs. Reach out to us at northmainfinancial.com. That's northmainfinancial.com.
Hey, this is Jeff McNeely, owner of G&M Milling Company in beautiful downtown Lowray. We at G&M hope you come by and see us for all your livestock needs. We stock feeds for all kinds of animals and hay too. We also have seed for a wide variety of forages for your animals. So come on by 4000 Taylorsville Highway, Statesville, or call us at 704-873-5758. We're worth the drive. Thank you again for supporting small family-owned businesses. God bless.
Hey folks, Justin Kazepis, owner of WSIC and host of Good Morning LKN. Terminix has been locally owned and operated in the Carolinas for more than 75 years. WSIC trusts Terminix for pest control, and you should too. Visit trustterminix.com to get started today.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Boeing has agreed to plead guilty to criminal conspiracy to defraud the U.S. after the Justice Department concluded the plane maker failed to adhere to an earlier settlement stemming from 2 fatal crashes of its 737 MAX jetliner. Under the preliminary deal, Boeing faces a criminal fine of as much as $487 million, but the agreement was bitterly criticized by families of the crash victims, who were not consulted before it was unveiled. Eli Lilly, the drug maker, has agreed to buy U.S. gut drug maker Morphic Holding for $3.2 billion, plowing some of the proceeds from obesity blockbuster Zepbound into its experimental pipeline. Morphic is developing a treatment for inflammatory bowel disease. Wall Street's indexes right now higher, modestly. Dow gaining almost 0.5%. NASDAQ and S&P 500 up only about 0.1%, but both indexes are in record territory. Oil futures pulling back 0.5% now to below $83 a barrel. Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Radio.
Now, more Taking Care of Iredell with North Carolina Representative Jeff McNeely on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
All right, back here for the second half of the show. Hey, we'll take some calls now. Somebody out there wanting to call in. I see Jesse's the sick and tired Patriot. He's been texting me a lot during that first part. If he wants to holler at me, go ahead. 844-788-3464. That's 844-788-3464. Love to hear from anybody out there who wants to talk. Like I said, thank the Lord we got some rain. We had a good 4th of July, or at least I did. I hope America did. I hope all of you had a safe one. Freedom never gets old celebrating it. And thank you, Lord, for our freedom that we do have here in this country. Well, let me jump in, and I'll actually give Roy Cooper, our governor, a little bit of kudos in a way. He's come up with a plan to reduce North Carolinians' medical debt. He's telling us it ain't going to cost us nothing. No, that ain't exactly the way it goes, but he's wanting to use federal Medicaid money to help pay off people's medical debts so that makes them able to have a better credit score and to possibly buy a house. There's a lot of people out there. I think two biggest problems with me with the medical right now is the cost. And then also the transparency, because a lot of times going in, we don't know the cost. And I know my wife and daughter both just had 2 separate procedures. And, you go there and you tell them that morning, and they usually make you pay right then. And he said, radio is down. Jesse's saying the radio is down. I don't know what that means. All right. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Anyway, so with the medical debt, like I said, you go in, you pay a certain amount when you're right there that morning a lot of times. Then you go into the surgery, so it's probably 5 or 6 in the morning when you're paying. And next thing you know, you start getting bills afterwards. And you think you've paid everything. And you even ask them, now, is this everything? Oh, yeah, this is everything. And then there's an anesthesiology bill, and then there's an anesthetist bill, and then there's something else, and little things. And it just keeps on going and whatnot. And so a lot of times it costs more than it actually says it does, even though they tell you that it's done. Let me ask Joe. Joe, are we up and rolling? All right, Joe says we're good. I hope. All right, just came back on. Good to hear. All right, now we can talk. So anyway, not to get, the biggest thing too here is also Democratic governor, and he's got his Cody Kessler is his DHHS, or North Carolina Health and Human Services, and it says here they're going to work with hospitals, and the plan will allow roughly 100 hospitals that recently began receiving enhanced federal Medicaid reimbursement funds to receive even more money. And where that is where we expanded Medicaid in the state. Now, I'll talk a little bit about my track record on that. I wasn't real excited about it, but I realized that I saw it was going to pass. It had the votes. And so on the second reading, I voted for it because I was able to put in $50 million. They agreed to this if I'd vote. $50 million for basically our jails, because once we take somebody in as a prisoner in your county, then you become responsible for their medical. So if anything should happen, we had one that had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. We swore that that he was sitting there waiting, playing Xbox down at the lake for us to get there and arrest him. So we had spent about $1 million some dollars. Unfortunately, he still passed away. But we spent a lot of money, and that was when I was a county commissioner. So it was also going to help staff, too, because you were going to have to hire more people at your DH offices to go out or to take the influx of more people coming wanting Medicaid. And Medicaid's for the poor and Medicare's for the elderly. So make sure you remember that. So that was in there, and went over to the Senate, come back, it was ripped out, and so then I voted no because I didn't really want to do it to start with, but I thought if I could get something for my county and other counties to make it a little easier, I would. So I'm not a big fan of the Medicaid expansion. I would rather see us work some way through an employer to supplement the medical insurance for them, for their employees. And then if people can go to work, then they can get health insurance. And so I would much rather do it that way than what we're doing, but that's not how it was presented in front of me. So to qualify to get more money, these rural and university-connected hospitals would have to voluntarily do away with patient medical debt going back to as early as 2014 on current Medicaid enrollees and on non-enrollees who make below a certain income or whose debt exceeds 5% of their annual income. Now, these hospitals would have to help low and middle income patients, for example, those family of 4 making no more than $93,600. That's a pretty good level right there, would still receive help. Deep discounts on medical bills occurred. The hospital would have to enroll people automatically in charity care programs, agree not to sell their debt to collectors, or tell credit reporting agencies about unpaid bills. Interest rate on medical debt would also be capped. So I see some good in this. I do. But now understand, nothing's for free. So we're taking money from the federal government to pay for these medical debts. So every April, I swear I send checks to the IRS and to the Department of Revenue here in North Carolina. So I'm really on both sides of the street. We're still talking about spending more money. This is one of the first states to do this, what Cooper's asked. We'll see how that goes. I think he's doing some auditioning for a bigger job right now since the other actor's not doing quite what he should. So maybe that's one of the reasons Roy decided to step up his game. Hadn't heard much from him lately except for vetoes. And know this, we also last year in the legislature, we passed a bill called the Healthcare Access and Stabilization Program, and that was to try to help a lot of these rural hospitals kind of get on their feet because struggling mightily. If you notice, the healthcare now is kind of getting a very few players in it. So do we got somebody online? Somebody called in, Joe? Nope, don't think so. Thought he did. So anyway, this is interesting. We'll see how this progresses. We'll see if this actually happens. I'm afraid if this does happen, though, that every other state will say, hey, we want that. And now we're talking about a lot of money to go through this. So this is going to be quite interesting to see how this plays out and what we do with this in North Carolina and if the federal government agrees to this, because I think you could be talking about spending a lot of federal money, which comes from the taxpayers, just like the state money does. We can't print it here in the state, and I wish they couldn't print it on the federal level, but they can. One other thing that's going on, and like I said, if anybody would like to call in and talk about any of this, 844-788-3464. Love to hear from you. Got a little thing going on, too, that has bothered me, being one of the chairs on House Transportation Committee. Governor Cooper and Secretary Pete Buttigieg had a groundbreaking for the S-Line rail project. Now, some may ask, and this was last week, some may ask, what is the S-Line rail project? Well, somewhere or another, through all of the different government programs, and I think this is from the Build Back Better that Biden put about $415 billion to improve transportation infrastructure. They set aside money for the Southeast to set up high-speed rail. So the S-Line is high-speed rail that will run from Raleigh to Richmond to D.C. So basically 3 stops on it. And this is going to get people to Washington, D.C. or to Richmond faster from Raleigh. Now, I guess my real question is, we already have rail service to Raleigh, and we also have, from Raleigh to Richmond, we also have rail service into D.C. now. This would just make it about 2 hours quicker because there'll be a lot less stops, and it'll go at a lot faster pace. So, how many people are wanting to go to D.C. from Raleigh or Richmond a year? I don't know. I need to worry about the Raleigh part. And I'm looking at maybe thinking in my mind 25,000 riders, and the cost is going to be almost 1.1 billion to build what we need to do to make this happen in North Carolina's part. But it's not about that. It's more about the upkeep. So how much is it going to cost us? I mean, if you think about this, folks, one of the easiest things we always say in government is to build it, is to keep it up for eternity, because that's usually how it works. So what will be the cost of this, and how much can we charge, and can we make any money? Because if you look at flights to D.C. right now, they're pretty economical. So we're going to be looking at trains versus flights and versus driving and cars. And so this is, to me, this is just getting a little bit out there, right now. And one thing you got to understand too, they brought this project to us a while back, wanting the state to come up with the $1 billion so they could use that billion somewhere else. And we basically said no. They told us they cobbled together this $1.3 billion by canceling out some projects and delaying some other ones and doing these things. So, when we try to make a move and try to make something smarter, do something better, economic development, they always tell us, no, you can't. But all of a sudden, when they want a high-speed rail, it's funny how the Department of Transportation here in North Carolina and the governor's office can figure out a way to make it happen. So there's going to be about $9.3 billion pour into North Carolina federal money from what raised our inflation for 439 projects. And mainly these are picked by Biden and Cooper. So who's going to keep it up? All right, stay tuned.
There's more Taking Care of Iredell with North Carolina Representative Jeff McNeely on the way from 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, a lot of folks across the Lake Norman area getting some much-needed rain over the past weekend, although a lot of that rain in a short amount of time, of course, led to some localized flash flooding in a few spots. That'll continue as we kick off a new work week now. Not quite as hot, but still grossly humid. We're up around 90 this afternoon with scattered showers and thunderstorms developing in the afternoon and evening, and we'll copy and paste that for most of the upcoming work week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. This Thursday, July 11th, Untethered Soul makes their Langtree Live debut. The band is a unique, creative, soulful reimagination of the music that shaped American culture. Grab your chairs and head to Langtree in Mooresville for the 7 p.m. performance of Untethered Soul with frontman Nick Prestia. This Friday, Trailers of the East Coast in Mocksville present the Wilson Strong Cookout. From 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., stop by for a barbecue plate and sides in support of Matt Wilson. We'll see you at Trailers of the East Coast in Mocksville this Friday to support Matt with the Wilson Strong Cookout. On Friday, Envision rocks Liberty Park in downtown Mooresville. This first-class dynamic vocal group delivers a high-energy stage show complete with professional choreography and silky smooth harmonies. Liberty Park in downtown Mooresville welcomes you to the Envision concert on Friday night. The Kane Center for the Arts Week 5 of summer camps begins Monday, July 15th. Morning and afternoon camps for ages 4 to 15 include ceramics, drawing, painting, mosaic, mixed media art, and more. The Davidson Community Players present Footloose the Musical on August 8th, 9th, and 10th. For more information on summer camp programs and the theater schedule and tickets, visit canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series heats up the track each week at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The 10-race series night number 8 is on Tuesday, July 16th. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for tickets, details, and information. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Now, more Taking Care of Iredell with North Carolina Representative Jeff McNeely on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
All right, back here for the last part of the show. Got a lot going on. Hey, if anybody would like to call in, 844-788-3464. Well, and just got a text come in and wanting to know about the bridge up there on Olin Loop, which has been out forever, folks, and it's been a odyssey, maybe is the best word, if not a catastrophe. It's been one thing or another. It's been bankruptcies involved. It's been trying to get utilities to do their part, and they have to engineer, they say, how to move poles. I think you could just send a guy out there with a bucket truck, and he can do it. But we finally got a lot of stuff done. Right now, there's a bankruptcy involved in the place that makes the precast beams that actually go under the bridge and go across the span. And supposedly we have got them released. They're paid for, sitting on the yard in West Virginia at this precast plant that went bankrupt. And we picked up the two for Jennings Road to help fix it here about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Supposedly this week's what I've been told. They told me it'd be right after the 4th that they're going to go up there and try to get the 6. I think it's going to take 4 or 6 for the bridge there on Olin Loop up there in North Iredell. So hopefully we're going to get it going. And if you have stock in the Olin Ferry Company that's done well the last couple of years, I would suggest you start trying to move it, because hopefully we're going to end up putting it out of business. Hopefully. Sorry, Van. It's just the way the world works. Sort of like telephone books. But anyway, here we go. Getting into it, starting over here a little bit. Joe Biden trying to make up with, or for, let's say, not a good debate at all with Donald Trump here the other week or so. Not really good. There's no bright spot from it. They try to tell us how it got better through it and he got his footing. No, it was just better than the total disaster that started. So now he decides, he sits down and does an interview with George Stephanopoulos. Now, understand, it was recorded, they said, in the middle of the afternoon, about 2 o'clock. And so it had been recorded, edited, and then brought forth that evening there on ABC News. And the question was, did this really help? Because that was the plan, was to see if they could somehow or another salvage it. You know, to me, I feel like our media has basically lied to us and not portrayed the truth, and how frail and how weak, and also the cognitive issues with Joe Biden. They've tried to hide it best they can. And so then all of a sudden it raised its head. So to me, I look at the media who tried to do everything they could to protect him, because, you know, basically they hate his competitor, Donald Trump, to death. So sits down with George Stephanopoulos. I watched it last night. I had to go back. I couldn't get it the other night. I was traveling, but watched it. Yeah, he was some better, but it's still very, very shaky. Not good at all, in my opinion. If he would have performed like that at the debate, we would have still be talking about how bad it was. So a lot of things going on. You got Senator Mark Warner. You got Representative Hakeem Jeffries, who was kind of pulling the other way. Now he's kind of saying neutral. This morning, Biden wrote a letter to the Democrats, told him he wasn't going anywhere. He's in it for the long haul. They've got to figure it out. But there's a lot of mumbling about a new candidate. Now, some of the things that come out in the George Stephanopoulos interview I thought were kind of, I don't want to use the word comical, but kind of different. We'll just put it that way. One, Biden said he's running the world now. So that's kind of interesting to see how that plays out. And then I think the world's a little nervous about that. The thing that bothered me the most was the very first part of the interview. He asked President Joe Biden, did you go back and watch the debate? And he sat there and said, no, I don't believe I did. Now, that's a yes or no question. That's not a I don't think so. That's a yes or no question, and he wasn't real sure if he did or not. He wouldn't bet his life on it. So that's the problem right off the get-go. And, he couldn't even tell you, talked about how he's running the world, but he couldn't even tell you who the prime minister, and I may slaughter his name, but at least I'd try it, Keir Starmer, of Great Britain is now, who was just elected. Said he's been working with the prime minister, but couldn't tell you his name for love or money. So, they could have stopped the interview right there and said, well, what's his name? And he couldn't have told you. And that should have been enough to stop it. He said he had handled Putin, which I think caused the huge rocket firing that Putin did into Ukraine right after pretty much this interview aired over the weekend, and hit a children's hospital. It looked like, and totally demolished it and killed 20, 30 people or more. We don't know how many. Looked pretty bad. So I think that provoked him to shoot those missiles into Ukraine just by him saying that he handled Putin, and he hadn't even come close to handling this man or doing anything to scare him or back him off. So, and he wouldn't commit to the cognitive test to see if he does have issues or not. He kept saying, I take one every day. I'm the president of the United States. I am a cognitive test. I do it every day by running this country, Folks, if that don't scare you to death, I don't know what will. He doesn't realize he needs to take a cognitive test. He's in denial. And I've watched this, like I said, with my own father. I've seen it. It's not good. And it won't get better. It will only get worse. So, it's funny. Pelosi and Schumer, all those were calling there at one time for Trump, that they were going to invoke the 25th Amendment. And basically the 25th Amendment says that if your commander-in-chief or is not have the mental faculties or has lost the mental faculties, that they can be replaced. They can be taken from office. And they kept saying, well, Trump's deranged when he was in office, and we're going to pull the 25th Amendment. Of course, instead of doing that, they decided to just comically impeach him twice. The House didn't go anywhere in the Senate, so nothing happened. It was all pomp and circumstance, just pretty much like him being convicted as a felon will be overturned, I'm sure, and it'll be pomp and circumstance once again. So it's funny. Don't hear a word out of anybody on the 25th Amendment after the stuff we've watched with Joe Biden. And if it was ever going to come into play, I think we're approaching that point. I hate to see that, but I'm just telling you, I think we're approaching that point of the 25th Amendment, and how much longer. Now, the only thing I think that saves Joe Biden from anybody using the 25th Amendment, including the Republicans, is they take a look at Kamala Harris and realize, we're not gaining here. We're not gaining one bit. So that may be the only thing that saves him. There was a jobs report that came out also. And we added over about 200,000 jobs, and Joe Biden is, he's touting that, saying how good things are going, how good it is. But if you really dig into the numbers, and I said this a while back in a couple shows, it really what's gaining is government jobs and health care. And healthcare is gaining because of the money we pump in to Medicaid expansion, especially here in North Carolina, but all over the whole country. So print more money, you're able to get more people to try to do maybe better health outcomes, or just go to the hospital because they got a cold, or they stump their toe, hangnail, whatever. So, but if you really look at it, and one of the other things too is federal, state, and local municipal government jobs, that was a big uptick. That was about 2/3 of the people that were employed in this new jobs created in June were either from the healthcare sector or federal, state, local government. And one of the things you got to understand is most state, local governments all work on a fiscal year of July 1. So here we are. We're in July. So they look in June and start hiring people to go ahead and get it set up and start them in July 1 for any openings they have. They budgeted for it. So there's where your increase comes. Now, we're still at 4% on inflation. or not, excuse me, not inflation. Let me get my stuff right. We're over that in inflation. We're 4% in unemployment. Let me get my words right. So maybe I need to take a cognitive test, Joe. We'll talk about that later. Who knows? Biggest problem I think you see is at going over 4%, and we still have signs out with people hiring. Can people pass a drug test? And on top of that, I love it. The NCAA voted here the other day that to drop cannabis from the drug list to prohibit you from being eligible to play sports in college. So now, it's all right to smoke dope. They said it's not a drug that's going to enhance your performance, so they didn't care if you smoked dope or not. I look back at my college days and how many boys sit on the sidelines because they did. So, I'd be a little pissed if I was them. That happened many times, and we knew it. You could tell who was in trouble. You could. So getting down near the end here, I will tell you this, one last little tidbit. I thought it was pretty comical in a way. Only in America, the National Education Association, that's the largest union of teachers and educators in America, the union staff walked out of their annual meeting. They have their own union. The union staff has a union. So a union inside a union walked out because they gypped them out of overtime pay and actually farmed out work that they could have hired other people in the union staff. So you got to love this. Only happens in America that one union falls in on another union because the union isn't doing right by the other workers in the other union. So I want you to think about that, folks. I'm going to go ahead and say the prayer now. We've come to the end of the show. I appreciate you listening. Dear Lord, dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for the freedom in this country. I thank you for all that you do for this country. I pray for Joe Biden. I pray for all of us, Lord, that we make wise decisions and do the right thing that we should and walk your path. Pray you be with us and lead us and guide us in this coming day and give us all safe travels as we move around. Bless our families. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. Folks, y'all have a great week. Take care.
You've been listening to North Carolina Representative Jeff McNeely. Join Jeff again next Monday morning at 11:05 for Taking Care of Iredell on News Talk WSIC.
Serving you better than ever before. 105.9, 100.7. WSIC, Statesville, Mooresville, North Charlotte.